Hello. So for today's feature, we're going to take a look again for another deck build for standard with the Naya colors. What I mean by Naya colors, these are red, green, and white. And this time this list is from the $100 cash payout weekly at the Lotus Lookout. This is, I think, a local game store. And the deck is what we call the Naya Agro or Naya Humans build. So just going to be a quick rundown of the deck. So we get tribal humans. As I remembered, I played the humans, 5-color humans, and modern. And given the similar strategy, which we may think of as lesser in being a comparison of the standard and modern. So we take a look at the first lineup, the one to cast. We have Chaplain of Arms and Hopeful Initiate. So these two are going to go for your first batch of curve. So in total they have 5, but given that they can basically get you value even if it's just one drop in itself. For this example, Chaplain of Arms can become a Chaptog Shield Guys when paid for its serve cost, which mostly serve as for the late game. Hopeful Initiate will go with having a training ability wherein whenever it attacks, it can put counter on it if he goes with another creature with a greater power. Also, it's a utility card in itself, wherein if you remove 2 counters from creatures you control, you can destroy a target artifact or enchantment. Given that today's metagame is mostly composed of vehicles and enchantment creatures, this can be a very relevant ability to use against them. So for the 2-drop, of course, we have Luminarch Aspirant as the best 2-drop for the white-based aggro, which you can pump your creature, and Talia Guardian to happen to hold off tempo and control decks with their non-creature spells being 1 more mana cost to cast. For the 3-drop, we have Adeline, Ismail Qatar as a pseudo hero Blade Hold, wherein we can just put out a 1/1 white human creature token whenever you attack, and as long as you get more creatures staying in your battlefield under your control, its power is going to be greater as more creatures are developed on your board. And partnered with it is Brutal Qatar as the 3-drop removal, as you can exile creature as it enters the battlefield or it transforms back into Brutal Qatar. By itself, it can also become a 3/3 first striker when it's Mood Rage Brute, but once it goes back to Brutal Qatar, you can exile another creature opponent control as long as it stays into the battlefield. For the third batch of 3-drops, we have Elite Spellbinder as a common PV card to tax off the best card in your opponent's hand, and this is also 3/1 flying in itself, which is a good evader given that you would go into aggro and you can just avoid the random 2/1s or 2/2s on the ground. And also we have a lone copy of Raiden, God of the Worthy, to also, of course, another tax effect with the non-creature spells your opponent cast with mana value 4 or greater will cost you them 2 more to cast. And if you can also cast it for its other side, which is Mira, Protector Shield, to protect your dudes. I've considered this one as a 4-drop because of its ability and Intrepid Adversary, wherein if you can cast it, you may pay additional 1 colorless and 1 white any number of times. So if you cast it for 2, it just become a 3/1 lifelink, but if you go with 4 mana, you can basically pump your dudes for each valor counter placed on it. So this is a good mana sink on the 4th turn and also on the 6th turn. So for another 2-drop, for the Halana and Alina partners, this is basically the core of the deck, and getting your aggro as fast as possible because of its pump effects, wherein the pump is based on its power. So whenever you begin your combat in your turn, you put these counters on another target you control, and that creature will also gain haste. So given that you can just drop in early on, you can just curve with the example with Adeline, then Halana, then another creature on your 5th turn. Then basically you just get that creature haste and also pump it given its Halana and Elena's power. So to protect your dudes, you need to have this playset of Snake Skin. This might be overwhelming in my sense, but this is justifiable with the ability of protecting your creature and also having to put counters on it. So another 1 power more to deal extra damage and also protect your dudes from spot removals. Also, I'll play 1 copy of Combating Down, which is the same function of killing or sort of a spot removal, wherein it will deal damage equal to the number of creatures you control to target creature or planeswalker. So in worst case, it can just become a comes to play tap land with Kabir Plateau. So another copy of Valor Stance. This deck seems to be more lean in single copies. Destroy effects and also protect your creatures from mass removal by giving them indestructible. And Wandering Emperor might be just a late game gas here, as you can just place out the curve, but also a good removal and token producer by itself. And Showdown the Skulls, of course, the gas for having to cast exile the top 4 cards in your library, and then you get to play them under your next turn. And whenever you put out the spell, just any spell, not just creature spells, you can put a counter on target creature you control, which buffs them and giving you more power to get through damage until you get your opponent's life to 0. As for the mana choices, these are basically the pathways and the farmlands for mana fixing, and also it has Cave with the Frost Dragon as its manland source. What I mean by manland is I can have another attacker to deal extra damage, but drawback is just 5 to activate, but still a good creature nonetheless. And also 2 copies of Biganjo, the new card from Kamigawa, as another source to deal 4 damage for attacking black creature. So for the sideboard, we have a few various choices. There are a lot of one-offs added, but I think this is basically just to keep up with the main deck and just also remove all other one-offs depending on certain matchups. But this is a good choice. Tamiyo's Safekeeping because of its ability to not only give your opponent's Hexproof but also destructible as well, and gaining 2 life in the process, which might be relevant if you are going against other aggro decks, or maybe getting you ahead in life against opponents. So Divine Smite could be a good one of here because of scenario based setup. So this target creature opponent's walker upon control faces out. So if it's a permanent, it's black, I saw it instead. And also with Valor Stance as another addition in case that you would need a multi-use card to get your dudes indestructible or just kill off their best creature, which are usually having 4 toughness or greater. So Outland Liberator, also a good human in itself, but that can destroy artifact or enchantments. And if you can get to flip it, there's also an additional effect that whenever it attacks, it can destroy target artifact or enchantment defending player controls. So the rest, we might just wrap this up. Skyclip. This is another support for Butakatar as an exile, a non-land non-token permanent, with mana value for less, which basically can kill off also vehicles and other 4 mana planeswalkers. So when announcement, just support card in itself, as you can just produce creature or draws you a card depending on how you set up, and also give you a bump effect in the late game. And the one copy of Showdown Skulls, and the one Emperor. This I think the Sideboard plan is basically just going through cutting out snake skin. Maybe if it goes against aggro, or just if we face control, maybe just go with the late game by cutting off irrelevant spells. Maybe the 1-elves, you can just remove them and replace them with the planeswalkers, additional spellbinder, raid Dane maybe, and wedding announcement. So overall, I think this is a good and decent deck for the Naya Humans build. You might do adjustments in Snakeskin build in the main deck depending on your preference, but given that if you place more aggro in your meta game, then maybe this is a good card to minus it. Minus in the main deck, and just add more creatures, maybe another Brutal Qatar or Skyclip operation in your build. That's how you would adjust to your local metagame. So that is a wrap for this deck tech. I do hope you've learned something on this, and until the next deck tech in Standard, thank you.